more often.
President Bush unveils what he says is a new education strategy. Democrats call it warmed over. The government admits problems in keeping AIDS-contaminated blood out of the system. And a savings and loan conflict of interest decision against President Bush's son. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. President Bush came out today with his plan for improving America's schools. Is it too little, too late, and designed mostly to help in next year's election campaign, or is it a breakthrough, workable blueprint for real reform in U.S. education? Susan Spencer begins our coverage.
Give me your common denominator, Sarita. 20. Do you agree with Sarita?
Yes. Potomac Landing Elementary is just the sort of school the White House has in mind when it pushes for new approaches in education. Parents help run the place.
It's neat to see what you can do. You know, you may say, well, it's just one voice, but actually you can make a difference.
And what the president is saying is we need to break the mold and take these isolated pockets of excellence that are working now and replicate them all across the country.
Few would dispute that, but the White House, in a public relations extravaganza, today laid on 5 events to make the point and to unveil Mr. Bush's education strategy. Among its highlights, plans for a New American Schools Development Corporation, largely business-funded, to explore non-traditional learning. Voluntary nationwide achievement tests to make schools accountable. A controversial proposal for parental choice in selecting schools, and pay incentives for exceptional teachers.
If we want America to remain a leader, a force for good in the world, we must lead the way in educational innovation.
But Democrats said, far from innovating, the president had simply repackaged some of their ideas, introduced a few new ones, and called it reform.
Had the Founding Fathers adopted this definition of revolutionary change, America would still be a part of England.
Events today in Washington state show what any approach is up against. 21,000 teachers on strike for money, supplies. Nearly a third of the states have had to cut their education budgets. Though the White House says its new ideas won't cost big new money, even supporters today weren't willing to let Mr. Bush off the hook completely.
But he said, I want to be a spokesman for education. And I think one of the ways he is and should be a spokesman is to go to the people of this country and say, support your local schools. Get in there and make it work. Adequately finance it.
Packages without hard price tags are often very popular in Washington, especially when they involve safe issues. The challenge for Mr. Bush may be to make enough of a difference so that education president sounds like a real title and not just a political slogan. Susan Spencer, CBS News, the White House.
What angle has assigned a .5?
You wouldn't think the mere idea of giving national achievement tests to 4th, 8th, and 12th graders, common practice almost everywhere else in the industrialized world, would be all that controversial. Isn't it common sense to ask students to wake up and prove they can read, or add numbers, or find America on a map?
If someone's handed a diploma without knowing anything, I mean, it's worthless. It really doesn't mean anything. There are certain things that someone graduating from high school should know.
But national testing could be the most controversial of today's new proposals. The most reluctant group, the establishment. Teachers afraid they'll have to teach the test and not their lessons.
And often when we do something like this, it becomes the curriculum, and it should not be.
And educators who warn we have standard tests now and are going downhill anyway.
Now we're giving our students 200 million standardized tests a year, and it hasn't improved the situation.
It's true, children do take millions of tests, but they don't all take the same one. The administration would set up national standards and compare students in Washington to those in Kentucky to kids in Los Angeles, hoping the competition will be the kick in the pants the system needs.
What about? We don't do better today, heads are going to roll.
Proponents of testing recall the movie Stand and Deliver, the story of how a talented teacher, Jaime Escalante, goaded inner city kids into learning calculus so they could prove themselves on a national test.
And if the only thing you know how to do is add and subtract,